You are on the 50th floor of a skyscraper in an alley in Texas, enjoying the breathtaking view of the city skyline. Suddenly, you hear the sounds of sirens, and the sky begins to turn dark. You look out the window and see a massive tornado heading straight in your direction. Pretty scary, isn't it? This might feel like fiction, but what would you do if it happened in real life? You'd be thrown around like a rag doll as the building crumbles, only to find yourself trapped under the remains. Would you take a chance in such a scenario? Here's what if and what would happen if a tornado hit a skyscraper. While you may think it's safe to stay inside a skyscraper when there's a tornado circling outside, you couldn't be more wrong. Tornadoes may not be born out of monsters, but they are violently rotating columns of air composed of circulation and friction heating of air within the atmosphere that can easily gulp anything that comes their way. This friction is formed when winds pass over mountains and other obstacles, which ultimately causes air currents and heat to build up along the way. As long as the heat buildup continues, there will be enough energy to invite twisters and thunderstorms. Basically, in places where many structures are built, a lot of heat accumulates and is released back into the atmosphere. In order for wind to move into this area, the system has to spend more energy to move in that direction. This is one reason out of many for a tornado to run into a skyscraper. So what are the chances that a skyscraper meets with a tornado? Do they happen that often? Let's get into that by looking at this real-life incident. The city of Atlanta in Georgia is no stranger to the occasional visit of a tornado. One moment the sun is shining bright, and the next, the sky turns gray, and winds howl like a pack of wolves. Tornadoes in Atlanta come and go like a fleeting dream, leaving behind a trail of destruction and awe. On March 15, 2008, a powerful tornado scored a direct hit on the commercial center of downtown Atlanta on Friday night. As serious as it sounds, it resulted in blowing windows out of dozens of high-rise buildings, tossing cars and trees, and even severely damaging many of the city's landmarks. The once bustling city was now a scene of chaos, with debris scattered everywhere and buildings reduced to rubble. The Weather Service announced that the tornado's winds reached 130 miles per hour, and it cut a path 6 miles long and 200 yards wide in just 20 minutes. From this, you can imagine how surreal the sight might be. At least 27 people were injured and transported to local hospitals. This incident remains a reminder of the power of nature and what it is capable of doing. Though the scars of the tornado may remain, Atlanta emerged stronger and more united than ever before. This was one of the many incidents that are happening all around the world. Did you know that in the last 10 years there have been 17 recorded instances of tornadoes hitting skyscrapers in the United States alone? Normally, skyscrapers are designed to withstand high winds far and far beyond the strongest wind recorded in that area. There are primarily two areas of concern when a tornado hits a skyscraper. The first one is the outer part, which in most buildings is made of materials like glass that are likely to get shattered from the shock. This can be dangerous for the people inside and the ones standing at the foot of the skyscraper. Also, it opens up the building, allowing various forces to act on the building's structure, which the designers never intended to include while designing the skyscraper. Secondly, the force magnifying effects built up due to the unnoticed sheer magnitude of the wind, as the likelihood of that happening was considered too negligible. This phenomenon is called wind shear. It causes sudden changes in wind speed and direction, which can put excessive stress on skyscrapers' structural components. This could also lead to unexpected damage to its structure. Before we assume all skyscrapers are completely safe from anything, you should keep in mind that this is not the goal of the designers to build a design that can withstand any situation. The only goal they have is to keep the structure sound so as to be enough for the occupants to escape during an emergency. The majority of skyscrapers have large areas covered with glass due to the structural frame tending to be internal. The problem with this kind of design in those areas where occupants are not sufficiently protected, such as the elevator cores or stairs, are not just subjected to the entire force of the tornado, but likely vortexing or tunneling, which would intensify the wind pressure and speed within the structure. This would be as if a car crash is occurring in every part of the building. People, pieces of furniture, and anything except for the structural core stand an excellent chance of being swept right out of the building. It's like playing a giant game of Jenga, and everything that isn't a part of the core is just waiting to be pulled out. Anyone standing on the core would experience huge pressure swings, which is likely enough to buckle doors, making the problem worse. The worst they would experience is falling down a couple of stairs out of balance. To understand the gravity of the hazard, see this incident that took place on March 28, 2000. When a tornado hit the 40-story Bank 1 Tower skyscraper in Fort Worth, Texas. It was an F3 tornado, having wind speeds of up to 206 miles per hour, and it caused damage to several buildings in the downtown area. The Bank 1 Tower sustained significant damage, including shattered windows and structural damage, and many people inside the building were injured by flying debris. Another risk that tornadoes pose is that they can create negative pressure zones. Just like how a vacuum cleaner sucks up the dirt from your carpet, Tornadoes create a suction force that causes the windows and doors to blow out, leading to additional damage and debris falling from the building. So, how can we ensure that tornadoes don't take us for a wild ride? Well, first of all, it's important to remember that a skyscraper isn't like a giant frisbee. No matter how tempting it may be to throw them out of a tornado, you just can't solve everything like that. Literally, the best way to stay safe in such a scenario is to find yourself a nice and cozy corner away from the windows and stay there. You can also take some books or songs to accompany you there. At least this will help you distract from the tornado till it's safe to come out. It's even better if you can find the stairs and head to the lowest level of the building as fast as possible. Just be careful not to trip and fall down the stairs, or that would be a real disaster. For building owners, taking the necessary precautions to protect your building is essential. This includes investing in impact-resistant windows, reinforcing the structure with steel beams, and installing a giant fan on the roof to blow the tornado away. Okay, maybe not that last one. Even though the chances of this happening are very low, remember to stay safe and avoid tall buildings if possible when a tornado approaches your building. Unless, of course, you're a superhero who can fly or have some other superpower to protect you. But for the rest of us mere mortals, it's best to avoid putting ourselves in harm's way. And if you find yourself in such a situation, just hold on tight and hope for the best. Thanks for tuning in, and if you have any tornado survival stories of your own, feel free to share them in the comments below. But no tall tales. We want to keep things grounded here. If you liked the video, hit the like button. Also share it with your friends. Sometimes you might be able to survive a tornado, but that doesn't mean that there aren't other elemental encounters to be afraid of. Well, that's a story for another encounter.